Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Rob O'Day, and we are on location in Penticton with Kynan Kraft, one third of the incredible band, the Flannel Contract. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for sitting down and basically getting to let us know who you are as a musician
Well, of
and
course.
as a
Well, thanks for
person.
inquiring. This is-
So, why don't you start off by letting us know who you are, where you're from, and how you got into being a musician?
all right. Well, who I am, I'm a little local oddball from Penticton, BC. I originally born in Edmonton, but due to my dad's work, moved here at a young age and pretty much just grew up here in the Okanagan. So I've been like out running around in all the forests and mountains around in the area here. So yeah, no, absolutely love it. Um, yeah.
What got you into music? Like, how long have you been a musician for?
So I picked up my first instrument at what, maybe 10? And that was the guitar because, my dad, he essentially raised me on bands like anything from Deep Purple to Lamb of God, etc. And he, kind of dinked around the guitar a little bit. I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to try that. And then hated playing guitar because I hated doing chords.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't memorize those different finger patterns for the life of me. And then at the age of 14, that's when I picked up my dad's old Rickenbacker bass. So when he was a kid, he played in a garage band, and they would play like "Smoke on the Water" like 3 hours a day, every day. Like that's the one song they played, right?
Yeah.
And so I picked this thing up. I'm like, hey, this feels good. This feels right. And so I really just dove like head first into playing bass from there on out. So it's been what, 16 years of bass guitar now?
That's crazy. It's funny how it's usually the other way around. Bass players are like, I don't want to play bass and get into playing guitar. Bass is an interesting one. I find most people are gravitate toward drums, guitar, vocals.
Yeah.
I think bass is the most underrated instrument in the band.
And I couldn't agree more. Because you've got like that stereotype of the bass player just chugging along on the root note the
Yeah.
entire song. Like, look at some of the greats, like AC/DC, for example. You're just hitting that root note the whole time. And
Yeah.
when I really want to take my bass playing to that next level, I was telling myself, anything that someone could do on a guitar, I want to be able to do on a bass. And so, there's this weird full circle moment where I came back and I started playing chords on my bass guitar. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you finally like realize that you have to do them no matter what.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you can't avoid it.
I can't avoid these at this point if I want to play music. No, it's funny because like bass is one that has always been. I've always loved bass, but I feel like bass has always got this like stigma on it that people have to play it a specific way, and like you said, you can't play it like a guitar player. But then you see like Les Claypool and Cliff Burton, rest in peace, and
Yeah.
you see like these bass players who don't have that limit to like, oh, I have to play the root note. It's like, no, follow me.
Oh,
Or
right.
Death from Above. It's another band where it's
Oh,
just a drummer and a
100%.
bassist, and the whole rhythm section is literally just a bass guitar with distortion.
Right?
So it's super underrated, and I think that bass with you listen to music without bass, and
It feels
it
empty.
feels empty. That is the
Yeah.
best description. Is it's empty. There's no soul to it. Like the melody is one aspect. Like guitars bring an element that is unrivaled for sure, but bass, something about it that just that's why they call it drum and bass. You know what I mean? Like since the dawn of time, it's
Exactly.
in our soul.
Well, it's kind of the foundation of music, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think back to like very early humankind. What are they doing? They're probably like hitting on stumps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You could argue that's like that's bass right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're setting a rhythm, you're kind of leading the song, and depending on how you play it, you can either, have a nice little ballad, or you could just be like balls to the wall,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No, it's true. I think that that's one aspect of music that I think is really intriguing is how long we've been doing it.
Yeah,
Like the oldest drums are like I think they said like 10,000 years old, and
that's
we were
insane.
pop it pop it pop it pop back then. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a cool concept that we discovered, and initially thousands and thousands of years just down the road where we're creating music with these weird instruments of wood and steel and you know, like for me, I always wonder, like, where did that start? Who was the first person to create a string instrument? And often, like, that progression is just, it's a really unique thing to think about. And then when you are doing it, when you're playing the music, it's another feeling. Like, it's hard to describe with words that energy that you gain and put out when you're playing. Like, you're putting out your heart's desire with the music that you created, and people accepting it and loving it and giving it back to you. That energy, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling machine that just constantly moves, like you were saying.
100%. Well, like when you're writing music and you're putting it out there, it's a very vulnerable moment, especially depending on the subject matter. Like in the Flannel Contract, like I tend to write some of the more heavier or how would I put it? More kind of like solemn connotation to our songs because I've had such a turbulent life. And so I draw from all that past pain.
Yeah.
I put it, you know, words on the paper, and then that turns into a song. And then all of a sudden we're playing that in front of people. You're really opening yourself out, or up, I should say. And then again, when the people are eating that up, it's that connection, like you mentioned earlier. It feels very fulfilling. Right?
Yes, it's very almost like you won at the Olympics. Almost that
Yeah.
that recognition, that acceptance, that I don't know. It's just it's a. I've tried to like. One day I'll be able to sit down and put it into words, but it's there's just something there that's spiritual, almost a religious factor with music that I try to like get that through and out, because dealing with musicians, we know what it is, and it's
Right.
usually what leads us to continue. And then we're 60 years old and we're still playing songs in bars, you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
like that feeling is what you're chasing. It's not like a glory or a fame or like money, because if that's what you're chasing, you're in the wrong industry. Music is not for that. So at the end of the day, it is like, well, I think what we do chase is that connection. Has music helped you through recovery? Because I know that lots of people tend to use music as a great.
I mean, a thousand times, yes. I mean, actually, music's a big reason why I'm still alive today. So, to give you a little bit of insight, I lived in Quebec City for 6 years.
Oh wow.
You know, paid my way through school. Met a girl, wasn't the healthiest girl to get into, and I was already kind of dabbling with drugs and various substances at the time. But after I met her, that's when I really started. You know, I really went down that rabbit hole. Lost my job, lost my apartment,
Oh wow.
lost everything. Wound up in the streets where it's -40 in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And so I was homeless for 4 months. And all I had with me was like my camping bag full of like the bare necessities and my acoustic bass in its case. And so there's these heated bus stops in Quebec, and I would busk there.
Okay.
And, you know, it gave me a sense of purpose. Because I was like, all right, I know I'm in the hole here. Like, I'm not really helping myself, but at least the music was able to keep me going.
Yeah.
And when I finally got my act together and, you know, started on that path towards recovery, you know, I've had different counselors and therapists and whatnot, and we always incorporate music into that therapy. Because that, I've kind of struggled with words in general, like speeches, stuff like that, or even conversing one-on-one with folks. Like, I trip up on my words. But using music, it's just like the purest form of expression I have. And so, yeah, that's been a huge part in, you know, my personal growth, in my survival, and in my road to recovery.
Which is, I think that's amazing, because not a lot of people are willing to open up about those kind of things, but to be able to take that, run with it, and like where you are now. Like it's
pretty cool.
It's
like,
a really cool thing, and I think that the fact that like what was your driving force was that love you have, that connection
yeah,
for music, whether it be an emotional or spiritual thing, that it just kind of keeps you going. I find that like watching you guys grow has been an amazing experience, from like, I want to say 3 years ago, 2 years ago, when we did our first show together in Kelowna,
Yeah,
to
that's right. Yeah, that
now,
was a couple
and
years now.
the sound has not only, I don't want to say getting better because it's great music, but it's like you can see that you guys have come as a whole. Like you're starting to,
We found our
you
pocket.
found your sound, you found your pocket, you know where you guys are comfortable, what you're comfortable writing and what doing, and musically it's amazing. And then you guys have this live performance that is unbelievably fun to watch. You're high energy, you're all dancing. Chris is a complete gong show on stage. I love it. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, he's incredible. I mean, whether he's playing guitar under his leg
Yep.
or behind his back,
Yep.
or sometimes he'll just bust out and drag sometimes
That's
on
I was
stage.
just gonna say my favorite performance to this day is at Slackwater for the fundraiser, and you guys did the Bananas remake, or whatever, the Gwen Stefani.
Oh yeah, with Rainbow Kin Surprise, little
Oh
mashup
my!
there.
It is still today my favorite song, and I think about it all the time. It's just hilarious, and it was so well done, and it's just like the confidence. It's not even confidence because it's just like when you know you guys as a band, you know that it's entertainment, it's fun. There's a comedic factor in the sense that like Harley still to this day does his standing up and drumming. That was always a joke to me, as like other drummers would do that. You know what I mean? It's like it's funny, but it brings such a beautiful element where every other band around here is so serious that it's like almost hard to deal with sometimes. So like you guys just gotta like loosen up a bit and enjoy the fact that you're just people making music.
At the end of the day, I think our mission is, to have fun, and for people to have fun with us.
Yes,
Right?
and I think you guys
Like
accomplished
a
that.
lot of our lyrics, even on like some of the more kind of like hardcore kind of songs, there's still a lot of like tongue in cheek verses in there. And it's like, did you pick that up?
Mm-hmm.
And on stage, like Chris is in his drag half the time. I play my boxers.
I was gonna
and my
say, you're
vest.
playing
Like
mostly
I'm
in
playing half naked.
And I mean, sax, isn't it? Isn't it? That's like you're mostly always wearing sax because he's trying to get the sponsorship.
Yeah.
So it's what you want to do, and you do it well. And like I've always been curious, like what's been, this is gonna be a question for all of you, but like what's been your personal biggest struggle in this band?
As I mentioned earlier, I pull a lot of my inspiration from some of my past pain.
Mm-hmm.
And something I'm still working on is to not drown in that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like lyrically, like sit in that spot and focus on that.
Exactly. There's this one song in particular called Junk Life Butterfly that I wrote. And I wrote this at a time when I was trying to help a friend out. She was a hardcore heroin addict. I was trying to help her get clean. And, having been in a similar position, there's varying degrees to it.
Mm-hmm.
But having been in a similar position, gotten myself clean, really wanted to help her out. And so I wrote this song, and every time I sing, especially live, because it's a very screamy song for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally just belting that pain on stage. And I can't help but kind of feel a little hiccup. And so, yeah, kind of songs like that, I have to remember just to not drown in it. Or even when I'm writing some of the new stuff, it's like, okay, you're taking what you lived through, or what you're currently going through,
Mm-hmm.
making it into something productive, but I can't stay in that headspace. And
Yeah.
so that's probably been my biggest struggle as far as like writing music goes. Here's the thing, it's kind of like, working with your best friend,
Mm-hmm.
right? Personally, yeah, the two of you are thick as thieves. Like my best friend James, he was our original drummer, right?
Okay.
Best friend in the world, we've known each other for over 25 years, and that friction started happening in the Flannel Contract there,
Yeah.
where he unfortunately had to leave because his priorities changed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like the old expression, like don't dip your pen in company ink.
Yep.
Sometimes they're best not starting projects with your best buds,
Yeah.
but rather let that project grow your relationship for you.
Yeah. It's hard to
I don't
force
know if
it
that
too.
makes sense, but
No, it does, and it's almost like when you're forcing it too.
yeah.
It's some people are just not. That's the hardest thing about band is finding dedicated members. I
Yeah.
find because like you yourself know your passion, how much you're willing to put in, but it's hard to like gauge other people's.
Unless they're like very straightforward about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is hard to kind of get a read on people.
Yeah, and I find that that's like probably been the hardest thing to deal with as a musician is trying to find people who are as like-minded and willing to basically die for the dream that you have.
Right?
It's very difficult, and I've you guys work well. Like watching you guys grow and separate projects as well, because Harley's in another band, Chris is in Nunya. Are you in another band as well? I never
There's a
actually
tentative
asked that.
band with a couple other locals here in town, but I just don't have the time for it.
Yeah, it's
I've really just,
right.
just dove head first into Flannel Contract. I've just been pulling all my energy into that as far as music projects go.
Speaking of, who's recording you guys? Like, who are you doing your album with?
So, a
Kinda
buddy of
segued.
ours, his name's Easton. He's from Kelowna. He plays in a band called Early Work.
Okay, yes, Chris was
Yeah.
saying this last time I was here.
Yeah,
Yes,
so he sings lead, he plays guitar, super rad guy,
that's
a
awesome.
lot of fun to work with. Now Early Work, they're kind of like this pop punky kind of vibe, pretty different from what we do, and so there's a little bit concerns kind of like going into it with Easton. However, he just grasps what we're all about.
Hmm.
No, there's actually now that I think about it, there's a lot of parallels between you and Easton. Like the two of you are pretty similar characters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a super wholesome
That's
guy.
funny that you say pop punk, like pop punk rock, pop punk. Like I feel like that would be the best producer for your guys' music. Honestly,
Oh, okay.
I feel like it would be the best because metal is just you don't want a metal producer to do what you guys do. You want somebody who can make it seem or make it. Pop punk is like the perfect like production wise. When I hear pop punk and I picture your guys', I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. So
Yeah, fair enough.
to have him doing it, I think will make it come out really well.
And it has come out really well. I mean, he has these little like subtle effects in the background that really gets us thinking like, damn, this is really cool.
Well, that's
Like
true,
we never
right?
thought about this.
Well, that's because you've been thinking of it as a performer versus as
Exactly.
like a studio musician. And like when you actually sit down in studio, you have all of the colors to play with. It's not just what
Yeah.
you've heard the song for the last like 5 years, but like this is what you're presenting. This is gonna be your stairway to heaven. Like sit there and take that time to really criticize yourself, but not to the point where it never gets out. That's the hardest thing with any production is just saying it's done. Whether it's
Right.
video editing or songwriting, it's very hard to, especially when you get into the studio, to be like, that's done. Because there's always going to be something that bugs you. Whether it's,
It's that pursuit of perfection, right?
it is, and that's really what my favorite songs in history all have mess ups on them. All the old songs don't have, they're not perfect.
No,
There's-
but that's what makes it human, right?
And that's exactly like there's something about today's music where I'm bored of, for example, I'm bored of modern metal because it all sounds the same. There's the structure that works now. There's the sound that works. Like there's the production value that everybody thinks is the best and the structure. So everyone's just sticking to them. And it's become very bland and it's like eating craft dinner. And I just kind of don't want to do it anymore.
No, I
That's
agree.
how I feel. And I feel that that's because they're spending too much time trying to make it perfect and not being human and allowing those flaws to shine, which is what makes music. Like music is meant to be flawed.
Well, because the beauty is in the imperfections,
Mm-hmm.
right?
There's no structure that you have to follow with music, which is one thing I love about you guys is you don't have a dedicated genre. You can do whatever you want with your music and it's flannel. And I think that's what makes you guys unique compared to any of the other bands that are local.
Well, yeah, because I mean, every single one of our songs is just so different. Like, you could probably group a couple together and, like, oh, yeah, that's like thrash punk or whatever. But for the most part, every song's just so unique. And that, personally, that really plays into how I play bass. Because I have no formal, like, music training or anything. Like, in the last 4 years is when I actually learned how to like sit down and go through scales. I had no music theory coming to any of this. And so when we decided to, take this seriously, I was like, okay, maybe I'll like look at scales and whatnot. But for the most part, no, we're just breaking molds, we're breaking the rules, and it's just working.
Yeah.
It's all about playing what sounds good and what sounds fun. I've got a buddy at one of my coworkers. you know, he actually like went to school for music theory and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you know, he also plays bass, but piano, guitar, etc., etc. And he tries to drum up these conversations on music theory with me because we're the only two musicians
Yeah.
at the tire shop. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, dude, I'm
It's
20
like,
something
yeah,
years
just
in. I'm
way
I'm
over
with
my
you.
head.
Yeah, I've been playing since I was 11, and I still don't know any theory. But then when I'm playing, Norm's like, you know all the theory.
It's a pursuit of passion versus a pursuit of education.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I'm a total geek. Like, ask anybody. I'm constantly trying to learn things, but music is not one of them.
Yeah.
Sadly, like I'll be the first musician out there to be like, I don't sit down. I don't try and learn new things. Like, I recently started trying to learn sweep picking, and like, I'd love to be one of those guitar players. I'm not going to be. I accepted that a long time ago. I'm just not. I'm good at what I do, and I'm happy with that. And I think that kind of translates through my music. People seem to enjoy it, so cool. That's how I feel. But like, growing as a musician is definitely the hardest thing. Trying to push yourself to learn theory when you don't know theory.
Well, what I've
That's
kind
hard.
of
It's
done,
like,
because I can relate to what you said so hard about, you know, sitting down and trying to learn something new about your instrument. I struggle with that.
oh, me too.
You know, I'm a finger picking bass player.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, well, you know, grab a pick, you'll sound chunkier. I can't. I need to feel the strings.
Yeah.
Or learn to slap. It's like, I tried, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right? But one of the things that I've done to grow as a musician is just jamming with other people.
Yes.
There's a local musician. He actually teaches music. His name's Jake Evans. Phenomenal guitar and bass player. And that's the guy I was like tentatively trying to like start a band with,
I
but
feel
just
like I
life didn't
know
quite
him,
work
but I
out.
just can't put face to name right now.
You know, he's a huge supporter of the local scene, but he's kind of more in the background. But anywho,
Yeah.
you know, sat down with him for a few jams, and he's showing me stuff, and it's not like going over music theory. He's just like showing me really cool things to do on the bass guitar.
Yeah.
And I took whatever I had the most fun with him there, and I've now since incorporated that into a Flannel Contract. And so I just love just having those free jams
Yeah.
with random musicians here in the scene, because you just learn so much from other players.
You really do. You start off as like, I want to be a guitar player or a bass player, and you start playing and jamming, and like you slowly get older, and then, like you said, you have the theory people, you've got the gatekeepers, and you start to realize really where the music industry, how it works, and you're like, I'm just gonna do this with my friends just for fun at this point.
Right.
It's really hard to get anywhere else.
Well, it's because I think it's so important that in the middle of this sort of music corporate greed and competition, quite frankly, it's important to also maintain that sense of community.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can look at like this big monster that is the music industry and go, okay, well, I'm never going to make it because it's so cutthroat. Or you can flip it on its head and go, you know what, I'm going to have fun and let's just see how far we take it.
Yeah.
And there's a certain kind of charm in that I think we as a band have really like attracted people with. And I'm not trying to like, you know, pat myself on the shoulder.
No, you guys have done really well.
But we're, you know, that humility mixed with pride and confidence. I don't know. It's just brought us places.
You guys have built a great brand. And like, thinking back from when you had your, what was a wing?
The Wing Wednesday
The
demos.
Wing Wednesday demos, right? Like, you guys have always been a different level on promoting, even with the merchant that you guys have. It's a different, as most bands are buying. Like, you think of it differently. And I think that's what kind of like, not separates you, because it's not like you're separate, but like it makes you guys shine in a different light than most of the other Penticton bands.
Well, it helps push us because, you know, in the band earlier we're talking about how each member kind of brings something different to the table, right? So I know Harley's got a degree in marketing.
Yeah, he took the arts and entertainment management course, yeah.
Right. I've got a degree in, well, restaurant management, which is a business degree with a little extra flair to it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's Chris, who's got all his local contacts in there because he's been running all the events at Clancy's. And so between the three of us, we've been able to, brand ourselves in just a very unique way that doesn't feel so. It's not like butting heads with each other.
Yeah.
It's been very much a cooperative piece. So my definition of success is being able to be happy doing what you love.
And I think that's what really everybody should focus on.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like as I get older,
Because life's short, man.
it is. Like it's going so fast. We're already almost in March, and it was just New Year's yesterday. That's how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
we were just saying Happy
I'm
New
still
Year.
processing 2024 here.
Yeah, dude, I'm still trying to get over the 2021. But it's definitely like music has become, for me personally, was always the biggest love, and then I grew a massive hate for it, just because I had that complex of I needed to make it, and not I'm having fun with this and this is what I want to do. Took me a long time to be like confident with myself as a person to accept that maybe I won't have millions of dollars and live in a mansion, but I will be able to, like, right now I'm living off of doing what I love. And I think that right there is like I'm happy with that success, and to transcend that to the band or even like helping friends get to that level is kind of where I'd like to get to. And
Well, I think you've, in many ways, you're already kind of there, because at least, I won't talk on behalf of my other band members, but myself personally, you've been a huge, not just help, but an influence on us.
I appreciate that.
We've, for years, we kind of looked up to you guys with Storm the Empire, and you in particular, and been like, okay, guys, like, this is doable.
It's just hard work.
STE is just killing it in Kelowna, and we're like, all right, we can do this too. Like,
I just kind of, you can ask Meg. It's literally just like I think the one thing that really helped me decide that I could do whatever I put my mind to is, worst thing somebody can say is no.
yeah, right.
And then whatever. They said no. Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
If there is anyone in your circle who has any negative, oh, I don't think you can make it, get rid of them. That energy is going to drag you down more than anything else. And that's hard. Sometimes that's family members.
Well, that's something I learned through
friends,
recovery.
right?
It's, you surround yourself by the people who actually care about you.
Yeah.
And, anyone who's trying to pull you down or take you back to that place, you gotta cut ties.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of blood family that I don't even talk to anymore, because, I'm the black sheep of the family.
I like to
and
say
they
I'm the black
love
sheep.
to bring that up. And, it's not even about moving forward at that point. It's just constantly being, people trying to drag you down.
Yeah. It's funny.
No one needs that. Again,
Yeah.
life is too short, and sometimes it's shorter for some than others, and I'm not willing to take that risk.
It's a good way to say that.
I'd rather have a tight circle of really good friends that I can call family, my chosen family, versus, a big circle of people that I kind of know surface level,
Yeah.
that deep down, maybe they're not really rooting for me.
Well, I think that's the actual term, blood is thicker than water, is actually like the blood of thy coven is thicker than the water of thy womb.
Yeah.
Meaning that the people that you keep around you are your family, are closer to you than the blood family that you have. And it's just in time translation changed, and it went from that to blood is thicker than water. But
It all depends on what society wants.
yeah,
right?
exactly. But like the actual translation means your circle is, your coven is closer than your family by blood. And it is, my coven is my band, my friends, everything.
Right.
We've basically hit our point. So if you, final question, because I love, the conversation went really well. If you could give any advice to an aspiring musician, what would it be?
Don't hold back. If you're afraid of being weird, just embrace it. Fly that freak flag high, and you'll find your people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing you can do.
No,
Because at the end of the day, it's all about community.
It's true. Well, Kynan, I love you, buddy. I
Love
want to
you
thank
too,
you for
man.
doing this. This has been a great talk.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's something I've always wanted to do, is get to sit down with you guys and learn. I've known Harley, like I said, and I've known you on and off for years, and we've made a great connection musically as friends, but like to getting to know you guys on a personal level is kind of like something I've always wanted to do. And like last interview, we didn't
It
get a
feels
chance
long
to do
overdue,
it.
yeah.
It didn't. We never really got a chance to, and it's amazing. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We'll catch you guys next time.